Okay, guys, thank you for joining us. I know it's been a little hectic with our technical difficulties. I have Paradise on my phone with us because I can't necessarily get her to log in through Facebook Live. Unfortunately, it's not allowing me to create this like joint conversation. So I will try it again. We'll be hosting this every Friday. Paradise is there. She is commenting. Thank you. Um, so we'll be hosting every Friday. So we will work out the kinks for next time. But we just wanted to get started today and have an idea of where everybody is at. Hear your thoughts, your concerns, your comments, and maybe tell you guys a little bit about why it was that we decided to put this event together. So in the meantime, I'm going to try to set up Paradise in a way where you guys can kind of like see her. So here she is, Paradise, on my phone. Paradise, you there?
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay, cool. So this is our pseudo like joint, what's it called? Screen situation for now, just for today. Next time we will have it so that she's much more accessible to you guys. Thank you, Joyce. I know you're there. Thank you for joining us. Okay. All right, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Stuck with the AC guy. There you are. You're right there. Hello. Can you see yourself? Okay. Michelle is here. Thank you, Michelle, for joining us.
Can you guys hear me, though, like when I talk?
That's a good question. Anybody be able to hear Paradise?
Like, does the audio come through?
Should be able to. I mean, it's kind of like you're as loud as I am, sort of.
Okay, cool.
So for anybody that doesn't know, Paradise is in New York. And so this is why we are connecting through the Facebook chat. Joyce, she's doing well. Happy
and social distancing.
Social distancing. Yes, very, very key right now. Very important. All right. So Sarah's stuck with the AC guy. Yeah, not the best time for that, that's for sure. Not fun. Sorry, Sarah, feeling for you for sure. Hopefully you get your AC fixed. Okay, so Paradise, can anybody give me just like a thumbs up if you guys are able to hear Paradise? If you can try to maybe share with us a little bit, Paradise, to just test out if people can hear you.
Yeah, so let me just introduce myself in an easier way. So I'm in New York right now. I have, ever since I've been quarantined for the past 21 days and alone in my apartment. And I've noticed as this is going on, I keep getting text messages and phone calls from friends who really just are dealing with a lot of anxiety, going through everything we're going through right now. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that. And I know they're not the only ones. I know a lot of people are feeling this kind of anxiety. So just how everyone feels about it. And like, let's talk through some coping mechanisms and how to get through this really weird time.
Right. And I think maybe we can share about just like our friendship a little bit. So Paradise and I actually went to high school together. And believe it or not, I guess we've been, staying in touch ever since. And Paradise, she went on her journalism career, and now she is a journalist up in New York, which is very exciting. And so I know in many ways she's been in the front lines of this situation with all the media, and hearing about like all the stories and sharing and people like freaking out with what they hear in the media. So one day, not too long ago, like a week ago maybe, Paradise and I were on Facebook, and I saw that she posted something about panic disorder. And I think that you tagged me or I commented on it or something like that. And we started talking about how this has been so prevalent in our friend group, in our families, that people are experiencing so much anxiety, even panic, and not realizing that is what it is, first of all. And maybe, getting the word out there would be like important. So we started talking about that, and we came up with this idea of really trying to reach people, and kind of like help them through this time of like extreme uncertainty. I think we're all feeling it. Lots and lots and lots of anxiety, somatic experiences of anxiety coming up, and just kind of start a chat about all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that, like, I've been getting a lot of people who've experienced their first anxiety attack throughout all of this, and it's help like, as someone who's gone through a lot of anxiety her whole life. So I don't know if Lisette remembers, but like in high school, my first like, huge anxiety attack that I remember, she was actually there for. I was like failing a math class, and I like ran out of the room crying, and she like followed me into the bathroom. But like I am very much used to having these. So I'm talking to all these people who are like, I don't know what this feeling is. I feel something in my chest, and like I think I have coronavirus. Like I feel these tingles up and down my arms and in my chest, and I can't breathe. And I'm like, no, that's not corona. That is an anxiety attack. Like you are having an anxiety. Your body is responding to anxiety. And I mean, I've had friends who've gone to the hospital recently because of this, because they don't know what's happening. They think that they're dying. So, like, I think that, first of all, like, we need to address, this is the anxiety that everyone is feeling right now, and I think for the past 3 weeks, we've just been, as a world, going through a collective anxiety attack. That those feelings are natural, and those feelings are really just your body communicating to you. So I think that's, like, important to tap into, this doesn't make you weird. It's a very natural process. Your world stopped 3 weeks ago. Right. So don't feel strange for having these emotions. This is something that you're going to have to learn how to speak to your body about and how to rationalize with your mind about.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that, you and I were talking about was like our common experience of like panic. And yes. I did want to share, because I think that, some of you guys know me, and for those of you who maybe are jumping on us like Paradise friends or who haven't really met me before, so I'm a licensed psychologist here in the state of Florida, and I do specialize in anxiety conditions and OCD, which, interestingly enough, when I was experiencing symptoms of panic, I did not recognize them as such. And I've gotten this question through like different, colleagues that I've like shared with, and they were like, but you see that every day, like, you treat that. And you couldn't necessarily like tell. And I was like, no, actually it was very interesting. So when I first experienced panic attacks, I was having a lot of allergy issues that turned into having to see like a pulmonologist, and seeing and getting like an inhaler, and like, which honestly it was chaotic, and then I became kind of wrapped up in this intrusive thoughts of like, what if I can't breathe, and that was so scary, and in my mind it was rational, because I was saying like, well, obviously, like, I have this really bad allergies and I need an inhaler for it. So it's rational that I will probably not breathe. And that was, again, like, it was a very scary thought, and it took some time to really, like, work through that and work on not pushing away these feelings, not trying to escape them, not really trying to react to them, and just allowing them to be there. In order to work through the panic, and it was, it was scary, and it was concerning, and it was something that I hadn't experienced before. And when we hear all symptoms of panic, shortness of breath, and like chest pain, and like lightheadedness. But when you actually are like in it and experiencing it, it can be really scary.
And it's really weird, because I feel like the more you have them, the easier they become to recognize. But sometimes you really can't. And you're right. Like, I've had moments where I'm like, I will just feel my heart racing. I'm like, why is my heart racing? Or I'm like, why am I like, I don't know how many times I've turned to my coworkers. I'm like, why am I anxious? Like, I don't even feel anxious. Why am I feeling this?
Absolutely.
So it does take you by surprise. I think the only difference is sometimes you recognize it, and those moments, and becoming conscious enough with yourself. So, like, when you do feel those feelings of panic, it's a lot of your body just going into fight or flight mode. So your body just kind of wants to, like, okay, let's run away now. Yeah. And in the past few weeks, it's been, all right, well, you don't have to go to work anymore. You're working from home, and you're getting a whole new routine. If you're a parent, now you're a teacher, and it's a lot to process. And you may be worried about bills. You may be worried about, like, 100 other things. So that's, recognize that your anxiety is coming from, it is very uncertain what's going to happen next. So that is valid.
Absolutely. And I think that because so many stressors are going on for people, and the degree of uncertainty right now is, like, very real, it can definitely manifest in anxiety in ways that people haven't really experienced before. And like you were saying, Paradise, it's like when you do experience anxiety, when you do experience panic, a great part of it is awareness and becoming to understand what your symptoms look like, what kind of things bring them on, and something we call safety behaviors, which in a way it sounds like it's helpful, but not really. It's all of these behaviors that we would normally do to try to get rid of the anxiety or not even feel it. And that actually exacerbates anxiety. The more we find
it, like, what can that be?
So, for example, like, I'll use my example of, like, being concerned that, oh, what if I don't breathe? And I would check. I would just do like take these deep breaths, and I'm like, am I breathing? Okay, yeah, I guess I am. And, like, the more I did that, the more concerned I was that I wouldn't, and the more my anxiety would come around. So,
like, in this case, if it's like your bank account, if you're worried about your bills, you'd be checking your bank account every 15 minutes to make sure it's there, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Making sure, checking, actually increases anxiety. So in a way, yes, it provides reassurance in, like, the short term, but it only continues to, exemplify that, oh, this is something that I do need to worry about, or this is something that I do need to have under control in some sort of way, and then that creates more and more and more anxiety.
So what do you do to kind of, like, I guess, turn that off? Is that the right phrase? Like, if I am, let's say, like, I'm worried about work, so I keep going online and checking on my work status, what would I do to turn off those safety behaviors?
So, like I was telling you, like, so if we work through awareness first, right? Recognizing what is it that our bodies are maybe, like, telling us, and learn to understand those cues without necessarily reacting to them like they are this real threat, right? Because a lot of times, like, evolutionarily speaking, our bodies are made to protect us and to, like, save us. But when it comes to, like, modern life and the threats that are around us, these threats are not necessarily, like, life-threatening, even though our bodies will react in a way that, like, oh my god, this is exactly, like, life-threatening. So we need to kind of, like, step back from that a little bit and kind of be aware of, like, okay, what's going on with my body? What's it kind of, like, cueing me to do? Is it okay if I just sit, like, literally sit with this anxiety? The more we're able to sit with it, the quicker it will pass. The more we fight it, the longer it takes for it to pass. And so I think
like, let the wave hit you. Like, let the anxiety come, hit you, recognize it, that thing.
Absolutely. Exactly. So letting it be there, not fighting it. And so I noticed that a lot of people are joining us, and I just wanted to take, like, a quick moment to recap. So guys, due to technical difficulties, Paradise is joining us today from my phone. But as we were saying earlier, we will meet every Friday, 5:30, and we will have the opportunity to meet and chat with you guys. So hopefully, and next time we will have it working a little bit better. But just bear with us today. So anyway, so we were talking a little bit about panic experiences and anxiety. And Paradise and I were sharing our own stories of dealing with anxiety, and also kind of, like, noticing the shift in our friends and family and their own struggles throughout this time with the whole COVID situation. And so maybe, Paradise, tell us a little bit about what you've seen in, like, your friends. I know that in New York, where you are located, a lot of stuff is going on.
Yeah, in New York, I've been getting a lot of friends who have even gone to work and they'll have anxiety attacks at work. Or
Wow.
they will just be nervous about going out into the world right now. Because going out right now does mean, especially in Manhattan, it means being in the epicenter of it all. And when I do have my friends call me, I've just been kind of telling them, you know what, like what you're feeling is normal. When you're going to the grocery store, people are afraid of walking in. I've been having friends who are afraid of going to the subway and, how am I going to get around? So it's, I've been telling everyone, take a step back and just remember for me, if I rationalize things and think about my facts, is what I call them, I can get through a process easier. So if I'm like, okay, you know what, like, yeah, I'm going to the grocery store, but I washed my hands. And I know to stay 6 feet away from everyone. So that's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And when I get back home, this is my plan for my groceries. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put my groceries down. Then I'm going to wash my groceries. And I think the more we rehearse in our heads of the things that scare us, it kind of makes it easier when you face the problem. Because you already have, like, a game plan. It's kind of like when you play sports. You trained already. And I think that's a lot of like what we're doing here is you're pre-training yourself. You're training yourself to a whole new lifestyle.
And I think go ahead, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to mention that, I hear this from a lot of people that we've never been through a pandemic before. Like,
yeah, none of us have.
Right? It's like, we don't know what it's like to go through a pandemic and literally have to change the way we function.
And this is like a new experience for everyone. I think it's a very unique experience that everyone's going through it at the same time. So everyone is going through their first pandemic together. Everyone's going through the first quarantine together. So it is kind of unifying in a way, as weird as that sounds.
Absolutely.
But also, I think it's a way that we can recognize our own panic disorders, and we can all recognize things within ourselves of, maybe you don't handle stress the way you thought you did. Maybe you're the person who, and I think a lot of self-reflection is going on too, that's causing a lot of this anxiety. If you're the type of person who thinks, oh, I'm great under stressful situations, and all of a sudden you're not, your whole person could be, you're looking at yourself differently. Oh, I thought it would be good in bad situations, or I always thought that if something went wrong, I'd be fine. Well, you still are okay. You just need to navigate it. And you're not going to have your game plan in the first 5 minutes. It's going to take you a second. And I think that's perfectly valid, and I think we need to practice a lot more of self-forgiveness. Because we've only been in this for 3 weeks. So you have to be able to give yourself a little slack.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'm waking up in the morning walking 2 feet to work now. It's okay that this feels weird. It's okay that I'm adjusting. And give yourself that forgiveness.
Thanks for mentioning that, Paradise. I think like a lot of people are going into this space of like, I'm supposed to do or I should be doing. And they get very caught up in like what is like quote unquote like expected. And that is like the number one thing that takes away like your awareness of like what is it that you need for you. The moment that we get into the shoulds, we take away, mindfulness. We take away just like non-judgment basically. And so I think I saw this post about like, oh, if like you didn't learn a new skill or you didn't complete that, whatever project you were going to work on or whatever, it wasn't that you didn't have time. It was that you were lazy or something like that.
You just didn't get to it.
Right. I was like taken aback a little bit because I'm like, hold up a second. Like, we're all dealing with a lot right now. We really are. And
there's no way we're all going to come back from this looking super buff.
I know.
Like, we're just not happening.
No. And then so it's like a big part of it is like, hold on a second. Like, why are we supposed to measure how well we're doing and how productive we're being?
And I think that's how we measure ourselves in the real world, right? So we're going to take those real world measurements and bring them here. And it does not work in this setting. Because in the real world, we measure our production as, well, how much am I getting done today? How much of my boxes did I check off?
Yeah.
And how you're really at home. So there's no, oh, well, I'm going to have this meeting with this person and do this and do that. We don't have that running around. We normally measure our productivity based on busy. We don't have that right now.
Exactly.
And I think that does cause anxiety for some people because they're looking at it like, well, I'm not busy anymore. I
Yes.
am not useful anymore. And for those who have lost their jobs, they may have lost a big part of their identity in their work. Of I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like I am whatever my job is. So I
Absolutely.
do, and those are again valid reasons to feel a little misplaced
Mm-hmm.
and to feel a little lost. But I think that when the anxiety comes with that, you need to look at your circumstances. This isn't like when 3 weeks ago when you would lose your job. This is where we have a lot of people in your boat. This isn't just happening to you. You are not alone in this. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy to feel isolated when you're alone in your apartment, but you are not alone.
Absolutely. And I think in a way, and you mentioned this earlier too, right? The paradigm here, or like the just like the shift in perspective that we can take of being stuck at home versus safe at home, you know. And
Yes.
I think that makes such a big difference, because when we hear the word stuck, you know, it has such a negative connotation for so many reasons, and especially with like what you were mentioning about, you know, how are we measuring success, how are we feeling productive in our lives, how are we fulfilling, like, you know, just our roles in overall. And it's like if I sense myself stuck at home, then I'm always going to feel like defeated, or you know, I'm going to feel defeated a lot of the time. But in true reality, it's like right now we are doing everything we need to do by being at home. Like that is us being able to take a step forward and to actually take care of the things we need to take care of, which is kind of counterproductive to like what we feel we need to be doing, right? Just like, oh, I'm supposed to be out there fixing things, but truly by being able to stay home, that's how we're fixing things.
And actually, it's working, which is the best part of it. You know, like we are fixing things. Things are getting better out there, despite those. You know, you are going to see the numbers increase right now, but this is working. The more
Mm-hmm.
we're doing what we're doing right now, it is helping.
Right. And I think,
And when you do feel those feelings of anxiety, I do think it's important to realize what works for your body. So,
mm-hmm.
like for me, when I'm panicking, I talk to myself. I love writing. I cannot write when I am anxious. It just does not work. My hands will not do it. My mind won't let me think.
Mm.
So instead, if I like color or
Oh,
if
that's
I do
awesome.
something else,
Yes.
that works better for me. You know,
Awesome.
so like
Yeah.
find your coping mechanism. If for you it's reading, it could be jumping up and down. Whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
do your thing and get those feelings out, because you're
Yes.
going to go into this fight or flight mode. And then
Mm-hmm.
the anxiety is going to hit you. And then after it hits you, you're going to, or as it's hitting you, you're going to want to make it stop, and you're going to want to channel your energy somewhere. So channel it somewhere that's healthy for you. Like for me, I love cooking. Like just like chopping, I can't think or be sad when I'm cooking. So that's what I do.
Awesome. Yeah.
But for you, it's something different. Find your channel.
Absolutely. Like I know that when I was like in the like really like peak of like panic disorder, it was really hard to like pretty much function. Just like I anticipated it. Like I was like joking with my boyfriend that like 8 o'clock is like scheduled. Like panic is coming at like 8 o'clock. Like seriously. And I remember that I would try to shut down. You know, I literally was like, and I'm done for the day. Like I'm not doing anything, and that only made it worse, you know. And again, going back to like, yes, do I treat panic disorder in people? Absolutely. And do I, you know, do I treat it just like anxiety conditions? Absolutely. When you're in it yourself, it's very interesting because you don't have like an outsider's perspective where like you can see like the whole picture, and you're just so consumed by like your symptoms. And so a lot of it was
Yes.
kind of like how to allow myself to feel that, and it doesn't mean that it needs to put a stop to my day, because the minute it did, it was just like everything that was inside of me kept rolling and rolling and making itself bigger. So I remember for a lot of it was taking out my dogs for a walk, like literally that's it. But I kept moving because again I was in the mindset of like, what if I don't breathe, what if I'm not breathing right, and then maybe I need to take it easy or I need to lay down, and that would only increase like the panic. And so instead of that, I was like, okay, I understand. I have these symptoms. This is happening right now. And I'm still going to go and do the things I was going to do. because we have to kind of like help the brain shift a little bit. If we're only in the space that unless I feel good, then I'm going to, do my self-care or whatever it might be, then we're only giving credit to those symptoms, and we're not necessarily helping ourselves like move forward. We're getting, like we said earlier, like stuck. So a big piece was like, I understand I'm having them, I see them, I acknowledge them, I am aware of them, and maybe like you were saying, Paradise, I'm gonna go cook. I'm gonna continue with my night. It doesn't mean that this becomes finite and like the end all to how I'm feeling and how I can be able to take care of myself.
Yeah, I think we're actually seeing that in the level of like baking that you've been seeing on like social
Oh
media
yeah.
lately. Like, have you noticed that everyone's been cooking?
Oh, 100%. Like, okay, when the bananas go bad, right? We were talking about like bananas going bad and what are you going to do with them? And now we can
Yeah.
just go make banana muffins.
Yeah, like I feel like everyone's just collectively like, okay, yeah, I can cook. Like, eggs cannot be found anywhere now. Everyone's just in their kitchens. And I kind of like that. Because it is comforting. There is comfort in food. There is comfort in, watching a movie. Like, for me, I've been doing all these little things, like, that I just have always wanted to treat myself with. So every week I'll buy Legos, or I'll buy, like, fake nails, or I'll
awesome.
do something for myself. And that's just, like, my little present for myself, And find your thing. If it's a recipe you want to cook, if it's a Lego set that you want to do. I mean, a Harry Potter Lego set. Like,
Absolutely.
just because I wanted to.
We're getting some good responses about the cooking. The cooking and the baking.
Yeah,
some people are very into it.
I just think, like, you should make quarantine something that is, to me, like, I'm very competitive. If I make it fun for myself, if I make it, like, something I can compete with myself with, then I'm going to do more. Like, I'm going to enjoy it rather than looking at it like I'm stuck at home.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So I was looking on one of like the groups here in social media about like psychologists, and someone posted something like really cute. It was this kind of like time capsule for kids, and I was like, we should do that ourselves. It was like, and I sent it to my sister obviously because she has like my niece and my nephew, and it was kind of like, how, like, what did you learn? How was it like to be in this space? Like, what are some of your favorite activities during this time? What are some stories your parents told you? Like, it was so cute, and I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool. I think that seeing this much more. Sorry about that. Seeing this much more as like an opportunity rather than a takeaway can be so useful to be able to create that shift a little bit. You know what I mean? Again, like the safe at home versus like stuck at home mentality.
And that is the beauty of it all, I think, that you get to do this. I think the mind shift and the way you look at it is going to have to be, okay, well, we're home, we're safe,
Mm-hmm.
and, your friends and family are home and they're safe. And I think that is so helpful to think about it that way. That's like I figure my days here. I'm like, I'll call my mom, and she doesn't live here, and I'm like, Mom, are you all right? Are you guys home? Are you guys, like, doing everything you're doing? And they are. I'm like, okay, well, now I feel better. Now I feel okay.
Absolutely, and I think it's such a great opportunity to reach out. I think I've been on the phone with more people that I've, like, ever been this past couple weeks. Like...
And, like, what a gift is that, Like, you get to talk to, like, people I haven't spoken to you in person.
I know.
in decades. Like, it's nice to be able to, like, reach out now and make those connections, and hopefully we all leave this, like, with those bonds.
Absolutely. Like, one of the things that has really stood out to me was this whole idea of, like, Zoom Hangouts, and... I don't know if anybody else has tried it. Anybody who has, give me a thumbs up. I think it's been really awesome. Like, we've made these meetings with, like, just small, like, group of friends, and it's felt very much like actually hanging out in person. And I like the idea of just because we're social distancing, it doesn't mean we need to be socially disconnecting, which is very different.
Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm.
This is like... I look at it like this is the time when we're pre-setting up all of our real happy hours. So we're just, like, get to know people again. And it's because I like hearing what other people are doing to cope. I love hearing what other people's stories are. And
Absolutely.
it kind of helps you feel not so alone. And I know when I'm feeling anxious, it makes me feel less alone knowing that, oh, well, she thinks that she feels it too, or we're all
Yeah.
had a stressful day today.
Absolutely. And like it actually kind of like normalizes a little bit of this experience because again, it's such a blank canvas in a way that we can do with being in quarantine whatever it is that we would want to do. I mean, if you think about it, there's no rules. There's no written like this is what being in quarantine is supposed to look like. And I hope that people are mindful and aware of that because side notes, I feel like a lot of media is actually putting on like these like different like pressures and rules and like succeed and make it happen and like whoa like come down. That's kind of been my reaction about that. You know, I'll plug in a little bit of like my work with like eating disorders just for a quick moment. But all of these places are so taking advantage of like, oh, you're stuck at home. Great. Now you can do all of the workouts and lose all of the weight. And it's like, hold on a second. Like, no, like we don't need to go that route. So just like want to also kind of give people like a little bit of a heads up on that. Be aware, be able to sift through some of that media, find what's actually like supportive of you versus like supportive of their pocket in a way.
Yeah, no, and we're gonna do something on this a little bit later, but we're talking about like if you, certain people who are like in business mindsets, it's always about well, produce more, and no, like you don't need to come out of this weighing 15 pounds lighter. And love your body. If you come out of this weighing 10 pounds more, you are just as beautiful. It is
Mm-hmm.
just as empowering because you still went through it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't look at it as, oh well, everyone's doing the beach body tech workout. Who cares? If it's not for you, it's not for you.
Oh
If you
God, don't
take
even get me
comfort in
started.
eating an extra meal a day, eat your extra meal a day. That is something that your body is asking you for, and you need to. And I think a huge part of having an anxiety disorder or panic disorder is getting to know your body and listen to it. And if your body's telling you to do something, do it. If it doesn't want to, your body is tired.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. So again, for those of you guys that joined us like a little bit later on our talk today, due to technical difficulties, Paradise has joined us through my phone just today. Next week we will be on dual screen situation. It's going to be a little better organized in that sense. But yeah, so just as like we were mentioning, one of the main intentions of us doing this talk was to really give you guys an opportunity to be heard, to understand that you're not alone, to sift through these like symptoms and feelings that for a lot of people are very new and very uncomfortable and make it hard to like function. So we wanted to give you guys an opportunity just to really be able to get some information. Now, just to keep you guys posted, we will do these talks every Friday, and we will have some guest speakers coming on with us, which I think is really exciting, because we know that for a lot of people, different conditions, different predispositions, different situations, family situations, can exacerbate the way people respond to the current pandemic and what's going on. So let's maybe also save just like
Joyce, I love your standing desk idea. That's like great.
Which one was that?
Joyce said that when she is working at home and she'll just like build a little like standing desk for herself.
Awesome.
So like you're not sitting all day, like I think that's like wonderful because there are people who are used to working on standing desks.
Absolutely.
And, like I think that's such a smart idea.
I love that. Very, very, very cool. And speaking of which, so Dr. Joyce Sampali will be one of our guest speakers coming up. And she will be speaking on OCD and the impact of coronavirus and OCD, which we know has been real tricky. Not only for people who are dealing with OCD, but then we're getting this kind of like flip side of the coin situation where everybody's like, oh, I'm so OCD right now. And it's like, no, you're not. Yeah. So we want to have an opportunity to focus on that. And we definitely welcome any and all questions. Dr. Joyce Sampali is a licensed psychologist here in Florida. She is based out of Miami. and she specializes in OCD and OC conditions as well as anxiety disorders. So we definitely look forward to having her come on. And we also will be having Dr. Michelle Stoyle joining us in relation to trauma. And I think that's something that's so important. In Paradise, you and I were talking about it earlier. The different kind of like trauma responses that people are having right now due to the pandemic. And even how people will be able to like come out of this, right? There's the question of like, how are people going to feel once like we're on the kind of other side?
And yeah, it's going to be, I think the anxiety, honestly, for a lot of people is going to kick in again when we do come out of this. Because right now I'm talking, I think the one few places that we're allowed to go right now is the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of anxiety attached to going. You're like, wait, is there going to be enough room between me and someone else in the aisle? I need to get something from the aisle, but there's someone in there. Do I have to wait until they leave? I mean, there's a lot of stress involved with it. Yeah. And I think once this is over, retraining ourselves to be able to go to the store and grabbing stuff.
Absolutely.
Are they going to be out of toilet paper again? Or am I going to be okay getting it? Like, if I go again, like now when things are back to normal. So I think that in our minds, it's right now adjusting to this, and then it's going to be adjusting to that.
Absolutely.
Not fearful that, tomorrow we're going to be right back where we are.
Ooh, absolutely. And it is a period of adjustment in both regards, right? Especially, I know in New York, they've done the kind of like stay at home quite a bit earlier than here in Florida. But that's been newer here. And for a lot of people, that's just become like the start of adjusting to the stay at home order and what that looks like.
I mean, like, I know for myself, like, I'll be at the grocery store now, and I'll see people, like, running out of aisles, they'll see you coming, and they're, like, jump out of the way. Like, I think that's, like, very much in people's heads, and seeing the empty shelves, I think it's scary for a lot of people. I've spoken to a lot of people who are like, I go to the store, and it's, well, when is it going to get back to normal? So, like, for me, I've taken note of the little things I've noticed at the store, and I am taking every small victory I can get. So if I see, like, I have celiac disease, I can't have anything with gluten. The first 3 weeks up here, I have not been able to find any gluten-free pasta. Last week, I found gluten-free pasta, and I was the happiest person in the entire world, and that's my sense of normalcy. Right. And I've spoken to people who are like, the Easter aisle is still there, and that makes me feel human. So find those little things at the store, if it's your favorite food, if it's finding a bottle of water, whatever it is, take that victory in.
Absolutely.
And that'll make going to the store easier for you, because you're going to be able to find your little sense of normal. And when you come home, please do not stress too much about cleaning your groceries. You're going to come home, you're going to wipe yourself down if you want to, you're going to leave it, and then you're going to go about your day. Don't spend all day cleaning, like, your boxes. Don't do that. It's an airborne illness. Don't forget it. Don't forget this airborne is supposed to get people talking through the mouths. Yes, it can live on surfaces, but there's been no evidence it is transmitted that way. So relax when you're at the grocery store. Wear your mask. Be protective, but relax.
And I know, Paradise, you're in the front lines of like delivering information to people. Being that you're a journalist and you're sharing a lot of like what these cautions are. And like I'm wondering like what you notice about how people are kind of like digesting some of this, and maybe what cautions might you share for people in terms of like how to sift through like different media outlets.
I think honestly there's so much fake news going on out there that make sure whatever news you are getting, it is from a reputable news source. It is from like ABC, Fox, CNN, NBC, CBS, like one of those big news stations, or the New York Times, Washington Post, whatever your local newspaper is. Make sure it's reputable, because there are people who have started blogs about, I heard if you take a blow dryer to your nose, it'll all go away. That is not true.
That was Florida.
There's a rumor going around that if you're black, you cannot get coronavirus. That is not true.
Wow.
There are rumors about if you take enough vitamin C, like a deadly amount of vitamin C, you will get rid of it. That is also not true.
Oh, no, no.
Make sure whatever you are reading, you're verifying with the CDC. Look on the World Health Organization, has some great resources on there. So does the CDC.
Right.
Get your facts from reputable sources. Do not look at a meme and think it is accurate. That's
Absolutely.
where we fall into danger, and this is when people end up getting hurt.
Good point.
And yes, there's a lot of like fake gossip on news sites. It's one thing, like on the internet, but when it comes to people's lives and health, that's the line I draw. Because
Thank
this
you.
is people's lives we're talking about. You could end up endangering someone because they think that if they eat certain foods, they will be immune to something, which you're not going to be. There is, like, the best way to immune yourself is to stay home and socially distant and to clean your hands.
Absolutely.
Don't touch your face so often.
And thank you. And I do appreciate so much having you to share about that piece, because I think a lot of times we're all trying to, like, quote unquote, like, educate ourselves, and it can be very quick to jump from, like, educating ourselves to, like, over, like, like, saturating ourselves with, like, information that only creates much more distress. So I appreciate that.
Line has been trust the nerds. There are nerdy people right now who are looking at cures and treatments, and every journalist in the world is the biggest nerd you'll ever meet. We're out there sifting through all those facts and giving them to you. So the nerds are on your side. Do not go through the internet bloggers trying to get famous.
Good point. I love that. Okay, so definitely trust the reputable nerds. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. The certified nerds are on your side.
I like those. Okay. Awesome. And just to add here, Dr. Joyce and Polly was mentioning helping what helps to focus on what is within our control versus what is not. And I found that, honestly, like, the first week of, like, this whole situation going on is where I felt almost like the panicky feeling coming back up, and it was, like, so scary. And one of the things that made the biggest difference was I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like, but I know what the next hour maybe can look like, sort of. You know what I mean? Like, I had this specific thing in front of me versus, like, the rest of this month, this week, and what is here in my home versus, like, what's happening across the world, because that can become so overwhelming, and it kind of, like, puts us in that space of, like, search more and click here and read this up, and it just kind of continues to grow. But so really focusing here in the here and now. What do I have to do next? What can I control within my environment? What efforts can I make to, follow CDC guidelines, take care of myself, connect with people, but also social distance? Like, those pieces really made a big difference also. So I thank you, Dr. Joyce and Polly. I really appreciate that comment.
Yeah, and you know what? Just to speak on that, like, and I think with your daily routine, you can control that too. So you can control the way you do your day. Like, if you want to wake up and just do nothing for a while, if you want to take your little breaks, you do have control over your new routine.
Right.
So embrace that control.
There we go. And so with that in mind, we'll talk about more of this in terms of how to maneuver some of, like, the building daily routines, how to cope a little bit different, how anxiety conditions and OCD may impact the way that people, are going through the pandemic. We'll talk about trauma and the impact that this might have. As Dr. Michelle was mentioning, a lot of people may have a hard time leaving their house when this is all done. Something we
Yes.
need to talk about, definitely. And I know we're out of time for today, but we wanted to thank everybody for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see everybody. I hope that we got through you guys' comments. Please leave us any questions. Please feel free to message us. If you have anything in particular that you'd like for us to talk about next time, I think we're open to that, right? Definitely. I think that we want to make it so that your Friday afternoon can be a little more entertaining. I know it's not, like, as fun as probably, like, happy hour, but hey, we're gonna do something like that. So hope to see everybody next time.
Yes, definitely. See y'all next week.
All right, guys, thank you for watching, and thank you, Paradise. I really, really appreciate you doing this together. I'm glad that we were able to partake in this, and we'll, we'll try to figure out
We'll
this
get it right
whole
next time it's
situation.
practiced.
Exactly. All right, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time.